Have you ever wondered, why does my build look like hot trash? Well, I'm going to take it from this to this. Today, we are getting into the Destiny 2 Top 3 Builds, a new series that I'm starting to showcase some really potent builds that'll be great now and also in the future, i.e. the next expansion when this releases is the Edge of Fate. So stay tuned, enjoy, thank you for watching, and I will see you at the end of the video. Stay tuned for a solo prophecy first encounter clear. Alright everybody, let's get into the first build here. So the two main exotics you want to use is Monte Carlo and Wishful Ignorance. The reason being, Monte Carlo gives you increased damage from melee kills and kills with a weapon. Melee kills grant ammo for the weapon. I'll get the blade out of the way. Dealing damage with this weapon reduces your melee cooldown and grants a chance to fully charge your melee ability with each kill, which is going to be huge paired with Wishful Ignorance. Gain an additional Frenzy Blade charge. Frenzy Blade and Flèche Storm briefly increase their damage with each strike. Pulses from your Banner of War return melee energy based on a number of allies healed. And, as a side note, in the Edge of Fate, Wishful Ignorance is getting a huge buff. So, its melee bonus is increased from 100 to 200%, and the Flèche Storm melee damage is increased from 50 to 200%, guys. This is going to be massive for the next expansion. And we'll get into the armor in a minute. But this basically gives you a loop of getting kills with Monty to get your Wishful Ignorance back, and you're just constantly trying to pump out as many melees as you can. You can really run whatever you want in your legendary slot, but I recommend something that can keep you alive, i.e. a Lotus Eater with Repulsor Brace D-Stab, or even the Solar one, which would be great for next season. And there's also one coming in Edge of Fate, so keep that in mind. And whatever heavy you want to run that will be good for DPS and boss scenarios. And for your loadout here, you want to rock Shackle Grenade, and you can do Grapple if you want, but Shackle is great for your utility and champions and stuff. Flèche Storm, Banner of War. This allows you to generate your melee charges quickly, and also for your exotic arms here. So these are the fragments you want to rock. Thread of Warding, which gives you Woven Mail when picking up an Orb of Power. Thread of Fury, damaging targets with a tangle, grants melee energy, which plays directly into our melee. And Thread of Transmutation, while you have Woven Mail, Weapon Final Blows create a tangle, which helps for this as well. And then Thread of Continuity to give your Suspend, Unravel, and Sever effects applied to targets have increased duration, which is very helpful. As far as stats and everything goes, like the stuff that's going to be changing in Edge of Fate here soon, this video is released around a month before, and a lot of these stats are probably going to be different around the Edge of Fate time. So to future-proof this, I would recommend going into full melee stat, and secondary, probably your mobility, because this is going to be weapons, which would help with Monte Carlo. And yeah, just pick and choose whatever else you want, really. As a side note, you could also rock this if you wanted to, for one of the new set bonuses. You deal significantly increased kinetic damage to shields, overshields, vehicles, and constructs. And if you have the 4-piece, defeating a powerful combatant or breaking a combatant shield with kinetic damage releases a disorienting kinetic shockwave, so good utility there. But the other one really I wanted to look at was Final Blows with freshly drawn or reloaded weapons heal you. And you could also have the 4-piece with bow, shotgun, or sword. Huge and important there for Banner War. Final Blows temporarily reduce incoming damage. Damaging targets with those weapons extends the effect. So that's going to be great as well if you wanted to rock a sword with this build too. And yeah, just some side stuff for the build there. But we'll move on. So, as far as mods go, again, this could change in Edge of Fate, but Kinetic Siphon for your Monte Carlo with hands-on and heavy ammo finder, and ignore the Artifice stuff. You can select that for whatever you want as well. You want 2 melee kickstarts, heavy-handed for more orbs on your melees. Or your power melee, sorry. Then you can really run whatever you want here. Melee damage resistance is quite nice since you're going to be up in enemies' faces. But if you need to run something like Font of Endurance or Charged Up, that's fine as well. Even the other resistances. But it's generally recommended to run whatever the resistance is for whatever you are going to do. Recuperation, Elemental Charge, and Orbs of Restoration. I run Recuperation pretty much all the time. Again, could change in Edge of Fate, common theme here. But you might want to run Invigoration too, who knows, in the future. Elemental Charge will give you Armor Charge on throwing Tangles, so that's quite nice. And Restoration will give you Ability Energy to your lowest charged ability. So that's quite nice once you start getting rid of stacks of your melee, because you have 4 with which full Ignorance. And for your mark, run Proximity Ward, Outreach, and Reaper. Again, this can be whatever you want. You don't need to do Reaper if you didn't want to, but that's what I'm rocking. So that's a general overlook for the build there. Obviously these artifact mods are going to change in Edge of Fate, and I'll go over some of the artifact perks as well. So we have Flame Fiber and Freeze. Combines the Solar Strand and Solar Stasis Siphon mods into one. That's not a huge one. But we also have Woven Mail. When it's active, you gain increased super and grenade stat, which is going to be great for your Shackle Grenade. And picking up an elemental pickup matching your subclass element or Tangle while you have a Strand super grants energy to your least charged ability. Destroying a Tangle with Strand damage increases the radius of the explosion and its damage, which will help Wishful Ignorance's melee ability recharge as well. Strand debuff non-boss combatants take increased solar damage from all sources. So that's going to be great if you can get a solar rocket sidearm or anything as well. Or even a heavy if you want to do that. While you have Woven Mail, Frost Armor, and Void Overshield, your melee recharges faster and deals increased damage. Look at that, guys. Another damage bonus. Wishful Ignorance is going to be crazy in Edge of Fate. Picking up an elemental pickup or Tangle grants increased damage to weapons of the same element. Now, unfortunately, Monte Carlo isn't Strand, so this probably won't synergize too well, but if you wanted to go with something like Barrow Dyad, that's also an option. Creating a Tangle by defeating a Strand debuff target suspends nearby combatants, so that's going to be massive as well. So yeah, that's the overview of the build. Let's get into some of the gameplay now. Alright, let's get into this expert lost sector here. Just as a side note, I did switch to scintillation just so I could get unstoppable. My previous recording was not great starting out. We'll get into some of the gameplay loop here. Let's get this guy. Oh boy. This is an Arc Surge day. So it might not be the best idea to use Strand, but we shall persevere nonetheless. The nice thing about this build is you don't really need a Rocket Glaive or a sword, which is always nice to do that, but as you can see, Monte Carlo does a lot of damage. I'll take out like a quarter of that guy's health. But I'll let the gameplay ring out here so you guys can see the rest of it. And it won't be too long until we get into the next build. See you in a minute. Alright, so on to the second build here. Let's go over the crux of it. And I forgot to mention from the last one, your stats are going to be changing in the Edge of Fate, i.e. mobility is going to be weapons, resilience is changing to health, and recovery is changing to class ability. So what I recommend for the last build, and most of these Strand builds, is to get 200 into your strength, just so you can get 30% damage increase on your melees, which is going to be huge. You could also do something like super if you wanted to, or grenade with grappling. It's totally up to you, but weapons would probably also be nice with barrow dyad. So there's going to be some options there, but melee is definitely the one you want to heavily lean into. But let's get into the crux of this build. So barrow dyad is a amazing little SMG from episode Heresy. This weapon generates blight as it deals damage. While not firing, blight depletes and the magazine is gradually refilled. Reload the weapon to convert stored blight into blighted seekers. So that pairs well with this. Blight generated increases the longer this weapon remains on a target. Blighted seekers burrow into targets and explode. And one for all, hitting 3 separate targets increases damage for a moderate duration. And the reason why, another reason why anyway, that I like using these two is that if I have a group of enemies and a boss nearby, I can hit 3 targets, shoot the boss and get some 35% damage bonus, and the Blighted Seekers also get amped, and it is very, very good. And Strongholds. Maximizes guard stats on equipped swords. You take reduced damage while blocking with a sword. Rapidly damaging targets after blocking shots with a sword grants restoration for a duration determined by the number of shots blocked. So, like a lot of Titans I've been using this season with Arc anyway, Strongholds are a very strong option, pun intended, for swords. And using flash counter on a sword will help you have some utility with Strongholds, and it is very, very good in higher end content, because you're basically invincible and you can't die. And redirection is also very nice on this sword, and I'll show you in the gameplay in a bit. But the mods you want to rock: Strand Siphon, hands-on heavy ammo finder, momentum transfer, impact induction, and font of focus, melee damage resistance, and any damage resistance you want to rock for whatever activity you're doing, invigoration, strand weapon surge, orbs of restoration. And the reason why I don't use something like recuperation is because I'm using Strongholds, so I'm basically invincible anyway. Proximity ward, time dilation, font of restoration. Not doing very many melee kickstart build things or anything with this. Just some general like grenade improvement where my stats low. So you can do whatever you want depending on what you're rocking. And for the build here, I'm using Grapple Nade, Into the Fray, Banner of War, Threat of Warding for Woven Mail, Threat of Generation for the Grenade Energy for the Grapple, Threat of Propagation, which I know you don't really need this season, but it'll be nice once that goes away from the artifact to get your Unraveling rounds, and Threat of Binding, just to give you some more utility from your super. But you can kind of do whatever you want as well. That's what's nice about this build. Since you're invincible anyway, you might as well just do what you want. And I'm just rocking this because something else besides a rocket sidearm. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this build. Let's get into the gameplay. Alright, I know I'm still doing the same Lost Sector. I like to show off Expert just to show that the build is pretty powerful. Remember, I'm using Stronghold, so if I ever run into trouble, I can just switch to Stronghold. Use it like this. Champions, no problem. And like I said, this is why I like using Ambition, to get that stack up and then do that. Quite nice, quite nice. Also, in harder content, Ambition is a lot better just because the targets have higher health. Like that, as an example. I got 4 charters from that. And it also helps for one for all. Varadiad is just very, very good. Alright. I'll let the gameplay ring out here. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Alright, now before we go over the last build here, I do want to point out that Winterbite is getting a little bit of a kind of a nerf buff, but the enhanced melee damage with ammo is down 30% now. It was 50 and now it's 20. So it is getting a hit in its damage, but it will receive melee damage bonuses from a variety of sources. So still might offset the nerf, but we'll have to see how that plays out. But either way, the build itself is kind of what Strand Titans have been rocking from day one, which is Syntheseps. When you're surrounded, gain increased melee and super damage, as well as improved weapon handling and reload speed. And I know this might not be the most exciting build, but whatever works, whatever works. Yes, I said that. So, we got Winterbite here, and it's the big frigid glaive. Fires a large ball of energy that locks onto nearby targets and freezes them. That is not what we're concerned about. What we're concerned about is that this weapon's melee attack deals increased damage and slows targets when loaded with ammo, and it is very, very good for damage scenarios. This build should work pretty well for most of the future content, because Syntheseps is just as stable at this point, until we find out what has happened with stats and changes that they made. But for the most part, you want to be rocking a similar thing to what I was rocking before. You can kind of rock whatever you want, whatever you feel like. Obviously the main picks are going to be Generation and Warding, just for Woven Mail and Grenade Energy. Just feel free to use to what your heart desires, I guess. But obviously you want to rock Into the Fray and Banner of War, just to get that Woven Mail and, you know, the melee damage increase and everything. But yeah, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Let's get into the gameplay. Okay, so I loaded into the Prophecy Dungeon because the Thrillodrome was the lost sector today, so don't want to do that with a melee focus build. So I'm going to try and do it in this dungeon and show you that it can be soloed. And this is on Eternity mode in Red of the Nine, by the way, so it's a bit harder. So bear with me, I might die, we'll see. But let's get right into it. I gotta do dark first. Alright, let's get into it. As you can see, it puts out a lot of damage. When you can hit him anyway, it puts out a lot of damage. Let's see if we can get the two-phase here. Damn. Okay. Let's shoot one of them out. Don't forget to use that either. It's very helpful, as you can tell. Don't know what my next one is. I think it is late. I think it doesn't matter though. Yeah, it's only the first one. Okay. Should know that by now, but yeah. This could be a completely null build in Edge of Fate, but it is quite powerful right now, so oh, are you kidding me? It's close. Luckily, I am a gamer. Let's see if I can get two here. That would have been nice. Clear out the area. Oh, don't want dark. There we go. And that's how you do it, folks. It was a little strenuous and difficult, but we did it. Alright. Gonna end the video there, and see you in the outro. Alright, that includes the build video, everyone. If you made it to the end, thank you very much. I humbly appreciate it. Leave a like, comment, and a sub, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Enjoy the rest of your day now. Bye-bye.